My name is Walter Brennan. I am 68 years old, and for 45 years, I delivered mail on the south side of Chicago. Rain, snow, heat, or ice. I walked 11 miles every day. I knew every dog, every porch, every name on every envelope. People trusted me with their words, their bills, their secrets. I never opened a single letter that was not addressed to me. That was the job. That was the code. I retired 3 years ago. The post office gave me a Timex, water resistant to 50 meters. I have never been swimming. I keep the watch in my dresser drawer still in the box. My wife Mary laughed when I brought it home. She said, "Walter, you walked through blizzards for 45 years, and they gave you a watch that tells time underwater." I said, "Mary, it is not about the watch. It is about them knowing I showed up." She kissed me on the cheek. She said, "Everyone knew. That was the problem. You were too reliable to promote and too stubborn to quit." Mary died 2 years ago. March, a Tuesday. She was making oatmeal in the kitchen. She called out, "Walter, I think I need to sit down." By the time I reached her, she was gone. The doctors said massive heart attack. They said she did not suffer. I hope it is true. I like to think the last thing she smelled was oatmeal and the lavender soap on her hands. We were married in 1964, 41 years. She was 63, too young, too sudden, too much left unsaid. We had 2 children. Sarah was born in 1982. She teaches kindergarten in Denver. She calls every Sunday at 6. She worries I do not eat enough protein. She is a good daughter. She remembers. Kevin came 4 years later, 1986. He was a quiet baby. He slept through the night from day one. Mary said it was a blessing. I said it made me nervous. A baby who does not cry is a baby who is watching. Kevin was always watching, always calculating. At 7, he ran a lemonade stand at the bus stop and made $47 in one afternoon because he knew the commuters were too tired to argue. At 22, he graduated from the University of Illinois with a degree in finance. He wore a suit. I wore my blue tie, the only one I owned. I bought it for Mary's funeral. I wore it again for his graduation. I thought that was fitting. A father should wear his best for his son's best day. Kevin married Diana in 2015. Winnetka family. Her father sold commercial real estate. Her mother chaired charity galas. Their house on Lake Michigan had a driveway that curved. At the wedding, Diana's father shook my hand and said, "Walter, I hear you are a postal worker. Noble work." He said noble the way people say cute when they see an old dog. I said, "It is honest work." He smiled. He said, "Honesty is important, but ambition is what pays for weddings like this." The wedding cost $60,000. Kevin told me over the phone, casual, like he was reading the weather. Mary and I were not invited to the ceremony, only the reception. Mary was already too sick to travel. We sent $500. Diana's parents sent a yacht weekend. After Mary died, Kevin called more often. At first I thought he missed her. Then I realized he was measuring the house. He said, "Dad, have you thought about downsizing?" He said, "Dad, Beverly is not what it used to be. Property values are stagnant." He said, "Dad, Diana and I are looking at a condo in Lincoln Park. $800,000. 2 bedrooms. An investment." He said it the way you say the price of a candy bar. I told him I was happy where I was. I told him I bury my wife 3 blocks away and walk there every Sunday with grocery store flowers. I told him I was not moving to a neighborhood where I did not know the dogs or the sidewalk cracks. He said, "Dad, I'm just thinking about your future." I said, "Kevin, my future is behind me. What is left is my present, and my present is in this house." The call came on a Tuesday morning in early October. I remember because the post office was closed the day before for Columbus Day, and I had spent the day raking leaves in the backyard, the same backyard where Kevin learned to ride a bicycle. The phone rang at 9:15. I was in the kitchen, making coffee the way Mary made it, strong enough to stand a spoon in. The percolator was from 1987. It still worked. Everything in this house still worked because I fixed what broke. I answered. A man named Frank O'Brien introduced himself. Coldwell Banker. Friendly voice. Professional. The kind that smiles through the phone. He said, "Mr. Brennan, I am calling to confirm the listing appointment for your property at 124 South Fairfield Avenue. I have a couple from Lincoln Park. Very interested. Saturday at 11. I stood with the coffee pot in my hand. I did not understand the language he was speaking. I said there must be a mistake. I said my house was not for sale. I said I had lived here 39 years and planned to die here. Frank paused. Papers shuffled. Then he said, "Mr. Brennan, the listing agreement was signed by your son, Kevin Brennan, 3 days ago. He presented a durable power of attorney. The paperwork is in order." I felt the kitchen floor tilt. I set the pot down. I said my son could not sell my house. I had not given him permission. Frank's voice changed. Smaller. Careful. He said, "Mr. Brennan, I am looking at the document. It is a durable power of attorney signed by you 11 months ago at Mercy Hospital. It grants your son full authority over your real estate holdings. The signature is yours. The notarization is valid. An offer has already been submitted." I gripped the counter. I remembered Mercy Hospital, the pneumonia, the winter before last. I remembered Kevin leaning over my bed with papers. He said they were for insurance. Standard hospital releases. The doctors needed them to treat me. I was weak, on oxygen. My glasses were on the nightstand. Kevin said there was no time. The nurse was waiting. I remembered signing. My hand wobbled like a child's drawing. I remembered Kevin patting my shoulder. "Good job, Dad. Now you can focus on getting better." I remembered trusting him. I remembered thinking this is what a son does. I hung up. I sat at the kitchen table. Oak. Mary found it at a garage sale in 1984, the year we bought this house. She sanded it by hand in the backyard while I fixed the gutters. She said, "Walter, this table will outlast us both." She was right. I sat there 20 minutes, staring at the grain, trying to remember if I'd signed away my home. I could not remember the words. I could only remember Kevin's face. "Dad, just sign here. It is for your own good." I called Kevin. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I called his office. His assistant, Brittany, said he was in meetings all day. I left a message. "Kevin, call me immediately. Something is wrong with the house." He did not call back. Not that day. Not that night. I sat in the living room with the television off, listening to the house settle. The creak of the third step. The hum of the refrigerator. These sounds had been my lullaby. Now they were a countdown. I slept in my armchair. I did not go upstairs. The bedroom still smelled like Mary's lavender soap. I could not bear that smell and the knowledge that my son had stolen the roof from over my head. The next morning, I walked outside for the newspaper. There was a sign in my front yard, red and white, planted in the grass between the hydrangea bush Mary planted in 2005 and the mailbox I painted navy blue in 2011. Coming soon in letters that shouted. Below that, Coldwell Banker. Below that, Kevin Brennan, contact agent. My son had put his own name on the sign in my yard. He had not told me. He had hammered it into the ground while I slept, dreaming of a world where sons did not sell their father's memories. Mrs. DeLuca walked by with her poodle. She stopped. "Walter, are you moving?" I said, "No, Angie, I am not moving." "Then why is there a for sale sign in your yard?" I said, "Because my son thinks he owns my life." She patted my arm. "I will pray for you." She walked away. I went back inside. I stood in the kitchen and looked at the basement door. Mary always said the basement was the heart of the house. Walter, the foundation is where the truth lives. The upstairs is where we pretend. I had not been honest in that basement for 3 years. Not since I carried down Mary's clothes and left them in the corner because I could not sort through them. I opened the door. Wooden stairs. Gray paint. I turned on the light and walked down. The basement smelled like damp concrete and old fabric. It smelled like Mary. She spent half her life down here. Laundry on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Folding sheets like a surgeon. Christmas decorations in label bins. I walked past the washing machine that had not run in 2 years. Past the boxes of Kevin's school papers that Mary saved because mothers save everything. Past the workbench where I fixed every broken toy. In the far corner behind the water heater was a small door. 3 feet high. Plywood. Gray paint. The pantry we built in 1992. I framed it myself. I had not opened it in 3 years. Not since she died. My hand shook as I turned the knob. Inside, dark and cool. Shelves with mason jars of peaches Mary put up in 2012. The peaches had turned brown. On the floor, beneath the lowest shelf, was a metal box. Gray. Shoebox size. Combination lock. I had never seen it. There was tape on the lid. Mary's handwriting. Just Walt. Not Walter Brennan. Not Dad. Just Walt, the way she wrote on my lunch bags for 45 years. I sat on the cold concrete with my wife's box in my lap. I felt something I had not felt since we buried her. I felt like she was still trying to take care of me. I tried the combination. Our anniversary. 16/04. 1964. The lock clicked. Inside, a manila envelope, a stack of papers, and a letter on yellow legal paper in Mary's unmistakable script. The edges were soft, worn by time and handling. She had held this paper. She had written these words knowing I would read them alone in the dark while our son tried to sell the house over my head. I opened the letter, dated March 14th, 2019, 6 months before she died. She had known. Somehow, she had known. Walt, if you are reading this, I am gone, and Kevin has finally shown you who he is. I am sorry. A mother should not write such things about her child. But I saw it in his eyes the last time he visited. He walked through this house like an appraiser. He looked at the yard and saw square footage. He looked at the porch and saw renovation costs. He never looked at the door frame where we measured him every birthday. He saw value, Walt, but he did not see values. I knew he would try to take this house from you. So I did something. In 1998, I opened a brokerage account in your name only. I took what we saved, not half, what we both sacrificed. Vacations we never took, cars we never bought, clothes we never needed. I bought Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla. I held them. I reinvested every dividend. I told no one, not because I did not trust you, because I trusted you too much. You have told Kevin. You would have wanted to help him, and he would have taken it. The account is at Merrill Lynch. Edward Henderson has managed it for 11 years. He knows to expect you. The certificates are in this box. Do not give Kevin a single dollar. Do not save him from himself. This house is yours. Your life is yours. Love him if you must. But do not let him sell your memories for pocket change. Show up for yourself the way you showed up for everyone else. I love you. Mary. I read the letter 3 times. Then out loud because I needed to hear her voice. I opened the envelope. Stock certificates. Account statements. The most recent was dated August of this year. The total was printed in black ink that burned into my eyes. $4,217,843.62. I sat on the basement floor in the house my son was trying to sell, holding more money than I had earned in 45 years of delivering mail. I did not feel rich. I felt like Mary had reached through death and handed me a shield. I called Edward Henderson. He answered on the second ring. He said, "Mr. Brennan, Mrs. Brennan told me to expect your call. I am ready to help." I met him the next morning at his office on LaSalle Street. First time in a suit in 5 years. Navy blue, the same one I wore to Mary's funeral. Edward was younger than I expected, maybe 40, gray at the temples. He shook my hand with both of his. He said, "Your wife was one of the smartest investors I have ever known. She never panicked, never sold. She bought and held the way people used to do with good land. He showed me the screen. The numbers were real. The account was in my name only. Mary had transferred full ownership to me the week before she died. Edward said, "Your son does not know about this. He does not know the house was paid off in 1997. He does not know you own it free and clear. He thinks he is selling a house with equity. He is actually trying to sell a house that you own outright, with liquid assets to buy it back 10 times over." I asked what I should do. Edward smiled. "That depends, Mr. Brennan. Do you want to stop the sale? Or do you want to teach a lesson?" I thought about that for 3 days. I walked my old mail route. The neighbors waved. Mailman Walt. They did not know my son was selling my home. They did not know I was a wealthy man on paper. I did not feel wealthy. I felt betrayed. On the third night, I called Sarah in Denver. I told her everything. The call from Frank O'Brien. The power of attorney. The box in the basement. The $4,200,000. She was quiet. Then she said, "Dad, I am getting on a plane." I told her no. She said, "You walked Emma to the bus stop every morning for 2 years while I was at work. You fixed my car in the rain when David refused. You are my fight." I did not argue. Sarah arrived Friday morning. She took one look at me and started crying. She said I looked like a man who had been robbed. Not of money, of something harder to replace. She was right. We sat at the oak table. I showed her Mary's letter. She read it twice, folded it, put it in her pocket. "We're going to handle this together, Dad. But do you want to save the house? Or do you want to save Kevin?" I said I did not know. She nodded. That is the right answer. On Saturday morning, Sarah and I went to the county clerk's office. Old paper and floor wax. We pulled the property records. The deed was in my name only. The power of attorney was in the file. Real. Legal. It gave Kevin the right to list, but not the right to spend the proceeds without court approval and full accounting. Edward had explained, every dollar must be traced. If Kevin deposits the money and transfers it, he commits fraud. If he hides it, he commits theft. The law moves slowly, Mr. Brennan, but it moves. Sarah made copies. We went home. The for sale sign was still in the yard. Sarah walked up and pulled it out of the ground. She carried it to the garage. "Not today," she said. "Not ever." At 11 o'clock, a black Lexus pulled up. A man and a woman got out, well-dressed, coffee cups. They looked at the house the way Kevin had looked at it. Potential. Profit. They did not see Mary sanding the porch in 1986, her hair in a bandana. They did not see me teaching Kevin to ride a bicycle on this sidewalk in 1989, running behind him, my hand on the seat, letting go when he did not know I had let go. Sarah stepped onto the porch. "I'm sorry. This house is not for sale. There has been a mistake." The woman frowned. "We have an appointment." Sarah said, "The seller is my father. He is standing right here. He never authorized this sale." The man looked at me. "Sir, we were prepared to offer $280,000, $10,000 above asking." I looked at his clean hands, his polished shoes, his confident smile. I said, "Son, this house is not for sale at any price. Not because I do not need the money, because some things are not measured in dollars." They got back in her Lexus and drove away. Sarah squeezed my hand. "Good start, Dad. But Kevin will know within the hour." She was right. At 2 o'clock, my phone rang. Kevin. His voice was hard. Fussed. The voice of a man caught and deciding whether to lie or attack. "Dad, what the hell do you think you were doing? You embarrassed me in front of the buyers." I said, "You made yourself look like a criminal." "Kevin, you tried to sell my house." He said, "It is not your house anymore. You signed the papers. You gave me permission." I said, "I signed papers in a hospital bed on oxygen. You told me they were for insurance. You lied. You used my trust like an ATM card." Silence. "Then, Dad, I needed the money. Diana and I are underwater. The bank is calling. I'm going to lose everything." I said, You're going to lose everything the moment you decided to steal from your father. He said, I was not stealing. I was borrowing. I was going to pay you back. I said, with what? You do not have $280,000. You do not have 28,000. You have debts and excuses. That is not a bank. That is a grave. Kevin's voice cracked. Dad, you do not understand. The pressure, the expectations. Diana's parents drive a Mercedes. They vacation in Europe. I am 42 years old, still trying to prove I am good enough for their daughter. I said, you are not trying to prove anything to them, Kevin. You're trying to prove it to yourself. And you're failing because you're looking in the wrong mirror. I built this house with my back and 45 years of mail. I built it while your mother canned peaches in the basement and dreamed of children better than us. Not richer, better. There is a difference. Kevin said, Dad, I am sorry. I will fix this. I will cancel the listing. Just tell me what you want. I said, come to the house Thursday night. Come alone. No Diana. No lawyers. Just you, me, and the truth. He said he would come. On Thursday morning, Sarah and I met Edward at the bank. We opened a new account, transferred funds. Edward said, you have options, Mr. Brennan. Financial exploitation of an elderly person is a felony in Illinois. You can press charges, sue for damages, take everything and leave him with nothing. I said, Mr. Henderson, I do not want to leave my son with nothing. I want to leave him with the memory of what he almost lost. Edward nodded. That is more expensive than a lawsuit, but it is your right. I asked Edward to prepare a cashier's check. $280,000. The exact amount of the offer. He looked at me. You are giving him the money? I said, I'm giving him the lesson. The money is just the paper it is printed on. That evening, Kevin arrived at 7. Alone. He wore the coat I bought him for Christmas 5 years ago. Frayed at the cuffs. He had lost weight. Red eyes. Sarah opened the door. She did not hug him. She stepped aside. The living room was lit by a single lamp. The one Mary bought at a flea market in 1979. Kevin sat on the couch. I sat in my armchair. Sarah stood by the window. No one spoke for 2 minutes. The mantel clock ticked. I had wound it every Sunday for 40 years. Finally, Kevin spoke. Dad, I do not know where to start. I said, start with the truth. Start with the moment you decided my home was a line item. He looked at his hands. It was Diana's idea at first. She said we needed capital. The market was hot. You would never sell. We had to do it for you. For your own good. I said my own good. The same words you used in the hospital. Kevin nodded. I know. I am sorry. I said, do not be sorry. Be honest. Did you think about me sitting here after you sold it? Did you think where I would go? He said, I thought you could move in with us. I said, into the home you bought with the money from selling my memories? He did not answer. Sarah spoke from the window. Kevin, did you think about Mom? The table she sanded? The porch she painted? The fact that Dad still sleeps in his chair because he cannot bear to go upstairs without her? Kevin began to cry. Not a child's crying. A man's crying. The kind that comes when you build a wall so high you can no longer see over it. He said, I thought about money. Keeping Diana happy. Not failing. I stopped thinking about anything else. I stood. I walked to the basement door. Come with me. He followed. Sarah followed. Down the stairs. Past the washing machine. Past the workbench. To the small door behind the water heater. I opened it. The metal box was on the floor. I picked it up. Handed it to Kevin. Open it. He looked at me with fear. He opened it. Stock certificates. Account statements. The number. $4,217,843.62. His mouth opened. No sound. I said, your mother saw this coming. Before any of us. She spent 30 years investing what we saved. Not coins. Sacrifice. She did it because she loved you enough to protect you from yourself. And she loved me enough to protect me from you. Kevin's hand shook. Dad, I did not know. I said, that is the problem. You did not know because you stopped looking, stopped asking, stopped caring about anything without a price tag. Your mother knew the price of everything in this house, but she knew the value too. That is why she left this for me. Not for you, for me. I took the box back. I said, I'm not pressing charges. I'm not suing. I'm doing something worse. I am forgiving you. Kevin looked up, tears on his face. Dad, I do not understand. I said, if I sued you, you would blame me. A bitter old man who destroyed his son. If I pressed charges, you would wear it like a badge. Poor Kevin, victim of a cruel father. But if I forgive you, you live with what you did. Every morning, you wake up knowing your father had the power to destroy you and chose not to. That is your debt. Not to me, to yourself. I reached into my pocket. I pulled out the envelope, the cashier's check, $280,000. I handed it to him. This is what you would have made. Minus the lies. Take it. Pay your debts. Save your marriage if you can. But do not come back here expecting to inherit. I have already instructed my lawyer. This house goes to a trust for scholarships. Children of postal workers. Your mother said education is the only inheritance that matters. I am honoring her wish. Kevin took the check. His hands trembled so badly he could barely hold it. Dad, please, let me fix this. Let me earn back your trust. I said, trust is not a house, Kevin. You cannot sell it and buy it back. It is a garden. You tore out every plant your mother and I grew. You will plant new ones. I may not live to see them bloom, but I will watch from the window. That is all I can promise. Kevin fell to his knees on the basement floor. He sobbed into his hands. Sarah knelt beside him. She did not touch him. Kevin, get up. You're not a child. You are a man who made a man's mistake. Stand up. Kevin stood, wiped his face, looked at me. Dad, I am sorry. I will spend my life proving it. I said, do not prove it to me. Prove it to your children. Prove it to the mirror. Then maybe you will understand why your mother hid $4 million in a basement instead of giving it to a son who wanted everything but understood nothing. We walked upstairs. Kevin left without a word. Sarah locked the door. She turned to me. Dad, are you okay? I said, I do not know, Sarah. I think I will be. Tonight, I sleep in my own bed, in my own house, with Mary's letter under my pillow. That is enough. She hugged me. She smelled like Mary. Close enough. The next morning, I called Frank O'Brien. Canceled the listing. He said, your son will be upset. I said, he's already upset. He thought his father was poor and weak and easy to forget. Today, he learned his father was rich in ways he does not understand. Frank laughed. Mr. Brennan, I have been in real estate 20 years. I have never seen a father choose mercy over money. I said, I did not choose mercy, Frank. I chose memory. There's a difference. I kept the house. I kept the stocks. I kept the letter. I see Kevin at holidays. He is quieter. He looks at me differently, like he did at 6 when I was the strongest man in the world. I'm not that man anymore, but I am his father. He's my son. That is not a transaction. That is a truth. Some truths take longer to deliver. But I was a mailman for 45 years. I know every letter arrives eventually if you keep walking the route. My name is Walter Brennan. I am 68. I own a house in Beverly that my son tried to sell for $280,000. I own stocks worth $4,200,000 that my wife hid in a basement because she loved me more than she trusted her own child. And every morning when I win the clock on the mantle, I ask myself a question. Was I wrong to forgive the son who tried to sell my home? Or was I right to show him that some things cannot be bought, no matter how much money you hide in a box? What would you have done?